Our attitude is like, what doesn't kill you will always make you stronger.
Food quality has to be consistent.
But they might not have culinary experience. But eventually they go into that.
Lagi kita berada, I pun tengok lagi macam-macam benda dekat meja tu.
Hello everybody, welcome to yet another episode of Beyond the Headlines. They go to space for the top stories that made the headlines and more. My name is Amalina Kamal.
And I'm Hazwin Hassan.
Ramadan is over and Raya comes in full swing. Of course, with the never-ending feasts, overpriced kueh, food waste, and of course, the struggle to compare between indulgence and common sense.
Yes, and every year it's the same cycle. We start with the best intentions. This year, I won't overeat, I won't overspend, and I won't waste food. But then by the second day of Raya, the fridge is overflowing and half of the food is untouched. And suddenly, we're looking at a mini buffet of regrets. So, what's happening here? Have we lost the plot when it comes to celebrating with food?
Well, lucky for us, we have in the studio someone who will always tell it like it is. He's a culinary icon, a national treasure, and let's be honest, if the man wants to single-handedly roast half of the industry, he can.
Yes, that's right, Amalina. So I have so much pleasure in welcoming the one and only Datuk Rizwan Ismail, or as we all know him, Datuk Chef Wan.
Tak payah Datuk lah. Just Chef Wan pun enough already, you know. Anyway, thank you for having me on the show today. Yeah, I can't believe, you know, kata pejam celik, kata here we are, you know. Again,
And selamat Hari Raya, Datuk.
Yes, and selamat Hari Raya to everyone as well. You know? Here we are, back to the same story as well. So where do we begin?
That is right.
A little bit different.
Thank you so much for making time for us today.
Yeah, always.
Okay, so yes, we're clear about the topic that we're going to discuss today. It's about the food waste during festive seasons, and right now, as it is at the end of Ramadan with Hari Raya coming up, food waste have been surging dramatically during these times, with some reports estimating up to 20,000 tons, metric tons of food wasted daily. So, why do you think Malaysians tend to over-prepare, and how can we change this wasteful habit?
Yeah.
I know, being orang kata also a restaurateur, in this food business, of course we are also facing the same issue as well. Yeah, every Ramadan is always a nightmare to see, you know, how much food is being presented and how much food is orang kata left at the table lah, and that goes, I would say, in, you know, every hotel and restaurant lah, you know, not just in this country, in fact the whole world. And for some reason I noticed over the years, you know, whether it's a Middle Eastern culture ke, whether it's Southeast Asian ke, you know, and you always see you know, people overindulging, you know, at their home lah, especially when they're entertaining, you know. There's like so much food. And people tend to just, you know,
Take it for granted?
Yeah, take it for granted. And then makan tak habis, and then after that it goes to waste. And the sad part, you know, people don't have guilt over it. That's the sad part. Sedangkan Ramadan, kita semua tahu, we all know, you know, is the month where we try to exercise, you know,
self-control.
Self-control, constraints, so forth and so forth lah. As we know, you know, every year we've been talking about the same Ramadan ni kan. So, and yet, people somehow lose themselves, you know, through this witness. I guess that's why Ramadan is always up for the challenge. Whether kita ni jadi pembazir, atau we just you know, like to overspend things and then overindulge, and sometimes can be a bit of a show off as well, without we realizing that, you know, we do that.
But Dato', like for our audience, how are you playing your part in, you know, controlling the amount of food waste?
Okay, firstly, as a person, you know, who's running a restaurant, we always look at the number of reservation made, you know, for our buffet. So more or less we gauge from year after year. Kalau, for example, if we're going to serve 300 people, this is just the exact amount of food, more or less, that maybe we can have. Kalau the waste too, maybe lesser and lesser every year because we know how to gauge it.
Right.
So example, kalau kita masak kata, let's say now we are cooking this rendang, 20 kilo, and we know 20 kilo with a bit of this, a bit of that and other stuff, more or less kita ada just leftover sikit saja. So that's why we gauge by our own experience of the public's eating habit, and then by the reservation, and then we also make a bit more slightly, yang kadang-kadang kita rasa, maybe if there is another 10% coming in, 20% coming in, who are big eaters, so perhaps we don't have enough, then we must have slightly a bit more than that. So anything that left over, sometimes certain dishes can be kept in the fridge, macam like emergency thing. For example, we're making this gulai ayam, gulai something that can be kept overnight in the fridge, just like because you don't have to kata throw them in the waste.
You mean you're talking about paste itself ataupun the whole lauk
the whole
itself?
cook, because sometimes certain lauk yang kita cook macam kuzi, daging, ayam, you can simpan overnight, provided the minute kita masak, kita cool it down and kita chill it immediately. So that's why, and that time, masa tu kita kena faham lah all the sanitation, personal hygiene, how to take care of the makanan, to cover them, to store them, to cool them immediately, so that bacteria tak tumbuh, tak grow dalam makanan tu semua, and store them in a proper temperature of fridge and all that, and then so that tomorrow it can be used. So just in case kalau kita perlukan benda tu last minute, it's there for us to reheat balik lah, panaskan sekejap.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of all this is again up to the chef himself and the whole entire brigade of kitchen crew who is so familiar in doing all this buffet year after year. So we are trained to agak-agak. Yeah.
And this involves a lot of planning, and I understand.
Yes, and sometimes, for example, certain dish is out, kan? So if we don't have that dish, katakan last minute, we have certain things that, for example, kita dah prep the next day, that this thing can be stir fry and all that quickly added into that. Because why? The paste is there. Sambal ni ada, sambal hijau ada, sambal, so we just throw them together, put santan quickly, and the chef like, okay, another ni lagi part ni lagi 3 suku nak habis, and then we start replenish them.
So useful use of scraps. Leftovers and
scrap not tak juga, because kita have thing prep. For example, if we're going to prep for the next day, definitely benda are prepared and all that. So I see, for example, when I was doing my food promotion at Mandarin for a couple of years dulu kan, promotion, so at the dining room before I had my restaurant, this is how I prepared them. So katalah the next day tu, katakan I'm going to do the same dish or other dishes, so I have all my mise en place ready, so that by the time kata I'm out of whatever something, I have the backup of the second food or the third food, whatever yang ada situ.
But you're talking about that is like in a kitchen that is big macam tu lah.
Tapi kalau eliminate food waste. Untuk food waste in restaurant, because food waste is eating into the profits. Kan? So that's why kita nak minimize food waste. So that's why a good chef is a chef who have a lot of senses, timbang rasa, a lot of chefs who knows how to gauge makanan, who know how to ni, because in the end kita tak nak lah wastage kan, because we need to save, because all that food waste, every dollars and cent goes back to their bonuses, go back to all their perks, their this and all that. Kadang-kadang it's also turn out into stuff food, in makanan stuff and all that kan. So we need to really talk to and get connected to all our team of chef to understand that this is so wrong untuk buang makanan. It's so wrong to masak berlebih-lebihan. Kenapa? Bila kita masak, when you cook something without responsibility, without looking into whether it really needs it or not, and then there's something wrong there.
Faham? But okay, when we talk about the spirit of festiveness kan, we talk about togetherness, and usually it's over food, right? Tapi over time, when we celebrate Hari Raya or even Ramadan or any other festive period, buffets are the main thing, right? People will be pushing out buffets apart from set meals. Do you think that is actually exacerbating the issue of overindulgence?
Okay, nak kata overindulgent tak payah tunggu buffet lah. Kalau kita masak lebih kat rumah, if you cook something extra pun, you go to restaurant also, you will not order 1 or 2 dishes lah. You order 3 or 4 dishes.
That's right.
But as long as you can finish the dish, it's fine. As long as you have the appetite to eat untuk ni, it's fine. Wan cakap selalu, eating dengan cara responsible. For example, there were many days when I just buka puasa with just a bit appetizer je, a bit of kerabu, a bit of that, a bit of salad, green salad, and then maybe I have a piece of bread with my soup. I didn't even touch the main course. You get me not?
Yep.
And Ramadan, I will lose weight like 3-4 kilo easily. And by intermittent fasting pun last couple of months, from where I was before 83, 84 kilo, now I'm only 75.
Right.
Because why? Because I make sure that I eat the right way.
Right. But then
And it's not about the value.
Okay.
It's about your eating habit.
Alright.
So kita jangan, macam orang Melayu kata, jangan salah lantai tu jongkang-jongkit. Kan kita yang nak menari ni salahkan. Tapi it's kita, sikap kita.
Right.
Just because kita bayar buffet that harga does not mean we need to eat everything that's there. Or ambil everything yang kita rasa kita tak boleh habis. Or whatever we put on the plate, we have to be responsible that we can eat it. Because don't forget, whatever we take and put on the plate is also, taking something that also belong to others yang sepatutnya boleh makan tapi dah tak ada.
Betul.
You get me not? Yeah. So that's why a lot of it, kita jangan salah restoran tapi salah sikap diri sendiri. So that's why I don't believe in that, because penyaga ni semua terpaksa menyaga. We have to carry on with our business kan.
Yep.
Because don't forget, we have staff to pay at the end of the month. Kan, we have to sustain the business. Don't forget the operating expenses. Everything is accountability. When I sit for my board meeting, these are the figures. Okay, like any corporate business kan. These are the figure. I better know how to answer about the food cost, about the wastage, about this, about that kan, and how much we spend monthly into that, and how much the revenue that's coming in.
Yeah, but then you also go back to, as you mentioned lah, with the buffet and everything, the reservation. So you cook accordingly to the number of
that,
packs.
yes,
So,
yes. So that's why a good restaurant is a restaurant that kata melakukan kerja dengan sikap cermat. Because why, in the end it's eating our profit. Kan, kita tak nak. I'm sure they also want to make profit, and the end of the year kan menyaga kan. And usually in those kind of business it's 20% profit lah, but you can't make 20%. Usually if you can make 15, 16, 14 ke 12 pun dah good enough, kan, to roll over that money for future, untuk buat renovation, for expansion, for all that, because otherwise all that money will go back into the cost of the people lah who's spending kan. So that's why this is business. That's why you notice when you do buffet as well, you have to understand that we are missing lunch. For example, if one restaurant during lunchtime yang kita selalu function, tiba-tiba puasa tak ada orang datang untuk lunch tu, let's say you are losing 20,000 each time for your lunch.
Right.
So imagine if you are losing for what they call 10 months, that's 200,000. Kan? I mean, sorry, 10 months. But if you're losing for kata 20 days pun, that's 200,000. 1 month easily about 300,000. Kalau one outlet, you imagine if you have 10 outlet, you times that.
Yeah. No, so
that
Datuk,
can be 3 million.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Datuk is giving the picture of from a business perspective lah.
So that when you don't have that, and then you have to sustain your cost hari-hari to bayar gaji macam ni, bayar sewa banyak ni and all that, where you going to get it? The buffet helps. And therefore, at the end, you more or less break even. Nak kata profit tinggi sangat tak ada lah, You're lucky break even. Most of the time, sometimes I don't even know whether people make it or not.
Right.
Because sometimes there were days when you don't sell. So that's the challenge, all this. But for people who putting the money and they makan that's worth, they must understand also that they can't just waste food like that.
Understood. It's basically everyone involved needs to know the capacity and the considerations. The businesses, peniaga, just wants to, you get what I mean, like break even as you mentioned.
Yes,
but then the support comes from the diners. But the diners, if you cannot, then don't over promise.
Yeah, but I always tell people, if you can't afford to eat everything and you're not a big eater, not moving, then you don't have to.
Offer, and no one's forcing you. Yeah.
I've been
Like our
told
cafe is a small buffet we have also.
Right.
So maybe we give you a nice appetizer, hot appetizer, cold appetizer, kerabu.
Yeah, that's the way to go now,
And then
right?
after that, they can have one main course. Kita bagi 5 main course to choose in my cafe,
because
Chef
a
Wan.
little bit adds up.
Yeah, and people say,
exactly.
I like this cafe, Chef Wan, because I'm not a big eater, but I know I can eat only one main course, so I give you this. Chef Wan bagi ayam, bagi daging, bagi ni tu pilih, bagi seafood, bagi udang, and then Chef Wan bagi appetizer. Appetizer banyak lah tu, ada salad, ada ni apa semua, so kita kenyang cukup je, and then kita go for the main course.
Betul. Yeah,
And then
yeah,
kita tak
that's
bayar
right.
banyak because it's only 70 or 80 ringgit aja.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get me?
But
So we give choices.
I've been told also that you need to have a strategy when you hit the buffet. Avoid the heavy carbs first. Go for the protein, the
Proteins.
expensive protein, like if you have lobster or prawns.
It depends. For me, when I support any buffet lah, for that matter, in all my years I've gone in, is for the sake of supporting the industry, the choice. Because don't forget, every penny that we spend also goes into paying the labor force.
Okay.
Don't forget, hidup ni is not just us. Rezeki yang kita dapat ni, kita panjangkan kepada orang lain. So jangan niat just because kita bayar 200 atau 300 ringgit ni, kita kena mencekik dan habiskan semua ni. Sampai tak sedar diri and mendatangkan penyakit and mendatangkan macam-macam lepas raya, kenciman ni, all kinds of thing yang in the end is reflect balik unsur penyakit tu balik pada kita, yang kita juga yang susah dan beban. So at any rate, I always tell people, eat with a bit of responsible pada badan pada diri sendiri kan.
Because it's interesting you mentioned about health and how food is interlinked. So during festive period, that's when we go all out, right? That's when we actually buka belt and pakai baju pun di sana pakai kaftan lah, because I malas perut nanti kembung, things like that, right? So should we actually rethink how we consume food during this period? Because I want to understand, how can we put health first?
Okay, I tell you what something, okay? I'm just giving me an example, okay? As much as I have so many restaurant, berbelas-belas restaurant ni, you will not see me every day eating at my restaurant. Okay? Selamat-lambat buffet tu pun, you takkan tengok I ni. Kalau you nampak I makan pun, like I told you, I akan ambil 1-2 kerabu, I mungkin ambil ikan, protein, whatever ni, and then cut down. Nasi pun ambil 2 sudu je. Because I know my sugar level is 5.3 at 67 years old. Right. My jantung tak ada yang tersumbat, bersih, very power, doktor kata. Last month punya kata annual medical check up. Cantik jantung Chef Wan, liver Chef Wan, apa semua kan, apa semua. So you're good. I say, so am I going to live another 100 years? Kan? So except I got cancer because of my stress level lah. That truly, which can also cause cancer, and all that. But other than that, overall, I went out of that very quickly because I have a healthy body. So for me to keep that healthy body and to be neat and all that, is for me to also be careful with what I eat. Because in the past when I travel so much, makan pasta, makan ni, I do put on weight. Perut pun sampai that level dah. Then just sometimes every so often you tengok I kejap naik, kejap turun, macam old tire kena pump kejap ni kan. Because why? Because when you're traveling, you have no control of your food. Because you nak try, you nak ni, especially as a chef kan. But the minute you're in your own home or wherever your own in negara ni, I have to be very careful when I eat kan. So that's why when I'm careful what I eat and see what I put on my plate, and it's not all carbo, it's not all fatty thing, but more vegetable, cut this, and also the amount that I ambil pun all in small portion, and therefore badan I susut turun, and I'm more sihat. And I tak sentuh all the manis-manis, all the different sweet yang you tengok, all this air tebu, air apa, sometimes nak minum pun air kelapa je. And the rest, itu pun sesekali dalam seminggu 2-3 kali, and the rest is just plain water. So I don't have all that. If I want occasionally, I will make my own fruit juice minus sugar,
Okay, understood. So how's your update with your health condition?
I'm fine. I'm good. I'm just gone through remission. Dah just gone pun dah setahun 3 bulan dah, all that kan. And so I'm okay, with very minimal side effect, and it's getting better and better with all my nerve pain and all that ni. But then that can't complain, because there's so much others out there who are suffering and sakit in my worst ni kan.
But you do go for checkups.
I have every 3 months I go back to my oncologist to make sure that we have all my blood tests, to make sure to look at all my cells, everything and all that. Kan of course lah, and makan pun kena jaga. So that's why you notice I cut down in all my sweet stuff and all that. So my sugar level is much better. My doctor also said bila naik sikit je dulu, naik tak banyak, 5.5 aja pun dia dah cakap, then I start intermittent fasting 3 bulan. Then I see, So Ramadan for me is a month where we kata detox our system. Kan? So bila kita detox our system, you cannot flood your system with too much of everything. Yes, once in a while you can go and overindulge makan, but you're not going to eat like that every day.
Yeah, that's true.
Not every day you're going to go to the pasar malam and just buy lambat-lambat makan dalam satu meja. Sometimes bila orang buka puasa, kita tengok daily penuh, they got to have everything. Kuih, dish apa semua. Lagi kita berada, I pun tengok lagi macam-macam benda dekat meja tu. Lepas tu tak makan, like you say lah, simpan dalam fridge lepas 2-3 hari, buang. Lepas tu nak makan sahur, tak makan, buang.
Betul.
And sayang. And worse bila kita pergi pula ke pasar-pasar bazar, kita beli many things that kita rasa nak, and we expect benda tu sedap, and then it disappoint us. Kan? Because why? Kita beli melampau sangat banyak, tak ni, then terpaksa buang, tak boleh makan kan. So that's why bulan puasa saya selalu main tarik-tarik tali. Like I said, okay, I go to the buffet, but then when I eat, I don't have to eat everything. That's right. Kan? Because I eat setakat bila kenyang saja, Alhamdulillah. And I don't keep in my heart, I paid 100 and whatever kan. That that sayang duit. No, I kirakan duit yang I nak pergi makan ni, I bawa kawan-kawan yang makan ramai ni, yang I nak bayar katakan dah 1,500 ke, kalau 8 orang kan nak belanja for buffet ni, and as sedekah to my friend, sedekah to all the chef yang bekerja, yang penat lelah buat makanan ni, apa tau. So that's why manusia kena fikir kadang-kadang a bit more sympathetic. What they are doing is also, helping the industry, helping the chef to be innovative, to be creative, to create buffet cantik, to have a sense of responsibility to make makanan tu sedap semungkin. Sebab orang dah bayar duit ni, kita must give nothing but the best. So if everybody have a positive mind to think like that, I don't think we're going to have an issue at all. I don't think the buffet is an issue at all, problem. The buffet is about, it's kita lah.
Betul.
Overindulge. Semestinya kalau orang bayar, kita nak buat benda sedap kan? Nak buat secantik kan? Tak sedap pun orang cakap tak boleh. Salah, because people pay for it.
That's
And
right.
we have all the tenaga and energy. And we have all the creativity to be innovative, to be creative kan? Untuk bagi the best. Tapi tak suruh lah you all macam ulas sawa. Kan? To telan everything. So masing-masing kena ada a bit of sense of responsibility.
That's right.
Jangan pointing finger all the time, except mirror yourself. If orang lain boleh tak makan buffet hari-hari, bulan puasa ni pergi makan 1 kali ataupun 2 kali saja pergi buffet, just for the sake of dining, we entertain. Makanlah.
Sure.
Tapi makan sezakap yang kita cukup.
Faham?
You have to have
Sorry,
discipline.
I'm not speaking. But my English is not very well.
That's okay.
My bahasa pasar is much better, So lah, my grammar is terrible. My spelling is the worst lot. When I update my Instagram baru ni kan. So I have my new Instagram now kan.
Okay, I'll follow you now.
Yeah.
Chef Wan 1958 underscore
Right.
official dia orang bagi sebab kalau nak monitor because it's being
Okay.
scammed.
Right.
You mean the old one?
Yeah, I've been scammed teruk. People took all kinds of things to sell periuk, pinggan mangkuk that I never sell. Minyak urut, minyak macam-macam untuk kepala botak pun dia. My doctor pun sama, kena masuk dalam tu, dia jual sekali untuk jual macam-macam sekarang. And then people don't get all the stuff. Nowadays with scammers, they use celebrity for all kinds of things. I don't know how my mom can talk and sell the product. And people believe it, and people didn't get the product rosak. It's incredible. So and then when people were making a lot of complaint about being scammed and all that, so then Meta said, okay, we close this account.
Betul.
We give
Better
you
be
something
safe.
with high
Well,
security.
Good PSA for our audience, especially during festive period. A lot of people who are opportunistic in this sense, and then yelah boleh
Tell
in
me
the situation of
about
Chef
it.
Wan.
I know, sometimes we're not in that part of the world again, or in that kind of behavior. We never understood that.
That's right.
But like I say lah, in a lot of things, I always advise people, we have only one body.
Right.
Kan? And sayang, jagalah ini. That's why you notice saya buka puasa, every time at home, 1 kari ayam, 1 sayur toge goreng macam tu. Macam mana, how I eat daily at home, and that's how I eat also for bulan puasa.
Okay.
For me, Ramadan, I selalu ingatkan lah, tak boleh berlebihan, because I need to feel how the poor didn't have anything to eat and how they feel hungry.
That's the essence
And
of it
then I also
anyway.
feel like, wow, bulan puasa ni I must try to exercise control, not to overindulge, because I need to take care of my health. I need to reduce my sugar, I need to lose my fat, I need to lose a lot of things, so that I feel good, so that my body works after 12 months, and then the 11 months of eating and all that, then suddenly it slow down, and then berpuasa kan. And then on top of that, spiritually lah, bulan puasa kita bersedekah, tolong orang, this all that, banyakkan amalan, all that stuff that I don't have to tell people lah.
Sure.
This is what we've been ulang tayang and been talking about. But then time and again, people don't realize that. And then trust me, Ministry of Health can tell you, all the doctors in the hospital can tell you, after Hari Raya, oh my goodness, punya ramai lah orang yang gula naik, kencing manis naik, semua segala-gala naik. So that's why sometimes when I see this country, when yes kita nak menyaga, kita yes nak jual kuih, kita nak ni, and then a lot become pembaziran. I've seen some of my relative that buy so many kuih, Anti Raya Haji ada lagi kuih tu. Sampai kuih tu after that tumbuh kulat.
On that, right?
And buang tau.
Betul.
Yeah,
On that,
that's
on
Yes.
that,
very common.
when we talk about food waste, right? Kita hoard and everything. But during bulan puasa, we also have the bazaars, right? And during bazaars, usually there's an over sort of consumption of food yang not a lot of people buy pun. Sometimes this bazaar, I'm not too sure how they assess the buyers within the area, because the food sometimes towards the buka time ada lagi, but then they share among them lah, but then they're not making sales, so it's counterproductive than what we're talking about when it comes to like dollars and cents, right?
That's why
macam
you have to see both ways, peniaga and orang yang beli juga, both. When you talk about food waste, there's always going to be food waste. Trust me, no matter how kita pusing kiri, there's going to be food waste. But how you take that food waste to use it, in a better ni. Sometimes certain food tu boleh simpan, boleh preheat balik.
Yep.
So perhaps you can also give away. That becomes your sedekah. We don't have to waste it,
That's right.
So sometimes macam cakap tadi, kalau kita pandai gauge and simpan makanan dalam tempat piti sejuk and all that, keep well kept, then we don't have to waste that food. It can be used again. Because benda macam rendang, kari ayam, all that kan, kita baru masak, kita store properly kan. So kenapa tak boleh guna balik kan? Right. Sometimes they taste even better the next day kan, provided kita store properly kan. So that's how restaurant business is. You don't always have things last minute. Certain stir fry things kita ada ni, but certain thing we cook in large batch and all that. That's normal. So for people yang meniaga kat luar tu, sometimes I know it's such a challenge. Tambahan with all the heat these days, that things cepat basi. So you always end up kan, when they're not stored properly, they're not warm properly, they're not kept properly, it does happen.
Right. But
So
these safety breaches, they still keep happening though.
Yeah. Because that's why the number one, peniaga-peniaga out there must understand what sanitation and personal hygiene is all about. Food, learning how to store food, learning how to have minimize, pegang benda, things and that yang kadang-kadang mendatangkan, kuman and all that, bacteria and stuff, and exposing food too long out in the open without covering, without heating up, without that kan, and easily makanan turn rancid. These are something. So that's why food hygiene is very important. So that's why you notice a lot of people sometimes nak meniaga, but dia orang tak faham makanan ekspor ni lalat dengan berkerumun dengan all that yang mendatangkan penyakit.
Betul.
Lalat tu nanti akan hinggap tempat-tempat lain, and lepas tu hinggap pula kat ayam percik dia. You get me not? As an example, kan? And then kita makan and atas kaki lalat tu tak tahu najis ke, tak tahu bangkai apa ke, apa kat sampah sarap yang dia bawa, and tu yang cause contamination. So that's why orang yang berniaga must understand food hygiene, sanitation, kebersihan, storing. So this is where in a professional kitchen, as a professional chef, you are trained to understand about calories, about food nutrient, food hygiene. So that's why kita belajar sebagai chef all those 3-4 tahun tu, bukan saja belajar untuk memasak, kita belajar juga how to handle food, how to handle the business untuk menyaga and all that kan. So the problem with our country, a lot of our peniaga-peniaga have no sense of business. They have no sense of whatever I just spoken tadi. So because they don't have that, so recklessly makanan tu fall into the issues yang we have all that. So if they understand that everything yang dia jual hari ni is also something yang they need to be responsible of in terms of orang punya kesihatan, sedangkan makanan kita masuk dalam daging kita adalah benda-benda perkara-perkara yang kena halal. Sibuk kat luar tu pasal halal haram. Ya Allah, tapi benda yang dia tak handle kat rumah yang kotor, dengan pengotor, dengan apa semua yang mendatangkan benda haram lagi daripada segala biggest haram jadah kat luar tu, dia orang tak pandai pula kan. This masalah orang kita. To be honest, I'm telling you right up front, okay? If you look at some peniaga-peniaga tu punya, orang kata kawasan mereka buat kerja, kawasan rumah dia ke whatever kan, and punyalah kotor, the fridge dengan simpan makanan. I mean,
it's not
bukan nak kata semua lah, tapi banyak yang macam tu. So that's why masalah kita cakap tadi tu is kesedaran tu perlu ada pada setiap peniaga tu sendiri.
Awareness,
If you don't have that, get yourself to equip with all that.
That's right.
Belajarlah.
And food hygiene, chef, is just one part of it. The other part, and I'm sure you coming from your restaurant, in a properly managed kitchen.
From the time
food quality has to be consistent.
Because from the time you select your ingredient, you are buying the best quality ingredient that you can because you want to have the best food. And then suddenly ayam you duduk dekat atas lantai, berjam-jam tak masuk dalam fridge sebelum masak. Berbau pun dia orang boleh basuh, letak tepung and all that, as though letak tepung boleh basuh, letak limau and all that can kill the bacteria dalam tu with all the salmonella yang ada dalam tu. You understand that,
Yes.
And then that's one thing. And then buat udang yang kita beli 1 kilo, like maybe RM100 yang mahal tu, and suddenly duduk dekat lantai sebelum masak 2-3 jam, atau just left idle in the kitchen without storing properly in the fridge and covered and all that, and then end up the udang tu macam harga 1 kilo RM60. Padahal kita bayar RM100, the value dia drop because quality suddenly jadi memek, jadi lembik, jadi apa And then sometimes bila kita masak pula panas-panas, tak sejukkan cepat-cepat, lepas tu tak tutup, simpan, dah macam macam basi.
Kita
Then
tak
kena
faham
buang.
konsep
Yeah, because
cold
bacteria.
chain tu,
Because bacteria dwell in makanan yang temperature tak sejuk immediately. Because when you have a cross between makanan panas dengan sejuk and all that, and then it goes bad. Even you put in the fridge, it can go rancid. Especially benda-benda yang menggunakan santan and all that semua kan.
Yeah.
So that's why what do you call it, when we talk about that, food handling is very important. From the time you buy the product, the ingredient, and from the time you wash and clean them properly and treat them properly, and then from the time you chop and slice and cook them quickly, and then store them and wrap them and put them in a proper place where they belong, and not campur sini daging dengan darah meleleh masuk kat sayur and all that. I've seen it. I'm telling you, as a chef, I've seen it. I've opened some people in the fridge and that, I'm like shocked, to see how makanan exposed like that and all that. And then the chef literally can take benda, it's bad, throw. It's bad, throw. It happened also in my own
Gordon
restaurant.
Ramsay moment?
It happened to my own restaurant. That's why when I go
okay.
into the kitchen, I'm like, sometimes I'm like crazy. It can drive me nuts, You can know. And to the point that I no longer needs to go into my kitchen anymore, because I would drive everybody off the wall.
Right.
And then that's why my partner says, Chef Wan, I think you stay away from kitchen, don't go so often because the boys are all like a bit worried the minute I masuk ni macam harimau pula.
But
you know,
you
so
have
that's
to.
why I have to.
Yeah.
Kan, when it's time kadang nak tengok kan. So and that's what it is, So from time to time you have to, because as a restaurant owner you need, but kita kena advise orang lah, because we've been through that.
Okay. But as a restaurant owner, do you also adjust your dishes to accommodate the palate of your diners?
Not
instance,
really, because I'm doing regional food. When you talk about restaurant Melayu lah, kan. So that's why we try to keep it as authentic, but also a bit of twist from my own style. Because every chef have their own style, because I don't feel like if somebody come tell you, you don't be Chef Wan lah, I nak you change. Why? I just want to be myself. Why should I listen to be who I am not? Kan? Because if you like my food, then you come for my food. If you don't like mine, then you can go to someone else. You get me not?
Yep.
So there's no such thing that as a chef, we need to have this kind of ruling where we need to please people. But of course, we need some time to listen also what the customer want.
Yes.
Kalau customer says that they cannot have too spicy food untuk ni,
You
then
have
we
to
mellow
adjust,
down. Then
yeah.
bagi sambal on the side for those ni. Then something say, Chef Wan, we can't, because sometimes when we go, we are vegetarian. My mother is vegetarian. Okay, then we need to have some vegetarian dishes as well on the menu for them, because
But
a lot
how
of
do you
vegan,
not
vegan kan.
compromise taste?
Kita kena dia.
Macam mana you tak nak compromise taste? How do you do it without
And
compromising
keeping it
taste?
consistent. Yeah.
Well, when you have that years of experience, masak tu, somehow you are able to do that in some ways. For example, when an architect wants to build this beautiful bungalow, certain amount of concrete, certain amount of steel, certain amount of whatever that they're going to use will hold this building to that. And the rest is adding the ideal look into that. Whether they want a Thai house, whether they want a Malay house, they want a Spanish hacienda, whether, and the same thing when I look at all my ingredients, of colors, whether I want it Malaysian, whether I want Lebanese, whether I want, from Jordan, atau yang ambil a bit of, Pakistani punya biryani macam ni, something that I learned from Italy, or whether there is risotto, for example, baru ni I was on podcast with KJ, and program masak, and I was doing this what you call that, bubur nasi congee untuk bulan puasa, and it's called apa ni, what they call gambas aros gambas, and basically it's bubur nasi. It looks like a thick risotto, but then I have a bit of twist of that Spanish into the Malay punya bubur lambuk kan. So when all the crew semua makan, and KJ and Shahril, oh my god, this is so delicious, Chef Wan, I love this item because it's light, tak ada santan, tak ada ni, and then you letak ni letak tu and all that, and then udang is so tasty and bau wangi and all that. This is where I come.
Right.
As a chef, that's why I'm a very well-traveled chef, because I connect from one culture and one food into another into my own
So
creation.
you welcome fusions and experimenting with tastes and
I also
flavors.
sometimes let my chef to be creative as well. I said, you can add some of the buffet on top of my main menu into ni. I bagi tahu chef Zabidi, I say you can have one or two, but it has to go through me dulu. It has to go through my partner, because we have to taste kan.
Right.
I don't have this thing because I'm Chef Wan that all my food has to become from me to taste so good kan. Tak perlu. But of course I have to say 95% of the menu restaurant is my recipe.
Right.
Kan, I because my brand kan. So the rest I give chef for a bit of move lah untuk to be creative and all that. Otherwise macam mana kan?
So how do you address, for instance, when diners say, "Oh my God, why is this dish so expensive?" Because they might not understand the costing behind it, right? Yeah. So
I always get this. Mahalnya cucuk udang you RM30 Chef Wan. Ya Allah, kita makan cucuk udang kat tepi warung tu RM5 dia bungkus-bungkus kakak-kakak potong masuk je. So I kata, ya ke? I pun pernah juga makan kadang-kadang. Lepas tu bila I makan, I balik, I tengok kan buka tepung je. Satu urat kucai tak ada, apa tak ada, udang pun tak nampak, apa tepung je. Bagi gula manis and nasi for RM3, RM5, this is what I'm paying. But then I ask them, did you see my cucuk udang dalam tu apa yang ada? Udang sampai 5-6, besar-besar. Jagung dengan tauge, dengan bawang, dengan all sorts of vegetable, no? So we are giving you extra sayur-sayuran to make sure that you have enough fiber in your diet, to make sure you have enough vitamin in your diet, so that apa yang you makan tu, this is what you see, is what you get, is what you pay. And of course, we can't sell any cheaper because the rental, for example, in Bangsa, you can ask Akbar tu, the landowner is 140, the building owner, Bangsa Shopping Centre is 140,000. 140,000. Dekat link tu pun is about almost the same as well.
Wow.
And imagine that, just before kita nak bayar anything, nak cover the bayar rental orang aja 140,000. So you want to compare, my investment of my restaurant, let's say 7 million to make the Bangsa looks fabulous with all the private room dengan segala kipang, dengan segala whatever.
You can do karaoke as well, right?
I love your restaurant, Chef Wan, because for the first time I can see a Malay restaurant at this level where I'm proud to bring my guests, people, the ambassador for social workers. I'm proud to bring people to show what Malaysian food is all about, because you know why, we are Spanish, we are American, we are this, and often we don't know where to bring Malaysian to eat Malay food, the real Malay food. And now when you open this, we feel very proud, and all these corporate leaders coming in, all these sultan, all these politician and all that, and people who know the effort that kita buat, will appreciate, and they're willing to pay. But
and also
orang,
because you're Chef Wan.
And orang, if you look at my harga makanan, tak ada lah macam over the top compared to ni. Walaupun my partner sometimes said, we can put a higher price because you are Chef Wan, your brand. I kata, no. I didn't go into the business to put my stamp as brand, as Jamie Oliver, as Nigella, as Gordon Ramsay to sell this price, because I don't believe that. Because food kadang-kadang kalau is good, I'm telling you, cendol RM3, RM5 tepi jalan pun sedap.
Yeah.
The X factor is there.
Right.
Kan? Kalau orang goreng benda kari pap macam mana sedap pun, kalau sekeping orang isi inti penuh, orang jual RM3-4 kita makan masuk dalam mulut kan, orang kata ya Allah sedapnya kari pap dia kan. Ini these days you bayar RM3 kari pap oksigen. Lepas tu masuk dalam mulut, one mouth dah habis dah RM2 tu. How many curry pap you need to put on the plate to eat, to kenyangkan perut you when you already spend $15 jam mencekik curry pap je.
Betul.
This is what is so wrong hari ni. People don't take, initiative to do the best. They want to cut down. Yes, I know the ingredient are mahal, but justify the ingredient mahal against what you're going to deliver to the people. I rather pay slightly a bit more, whatever, than I sit tepi jalan tu kan dengan panas, dengan makan kotor, dengan tikus lari kulu kilir and all that, and I don't know where the food comes from and ini. Then to be in a restaurant where a professional chef cooks, they understand personal hygiene, sanitation, food and everything kan, and control and everything to make that the food looks good. So this is the issue with orang kita. Kadang-kadang penny wise pound foolish. Kedekut ni nak belanja benda ni kan, nak makan. Tapi ada juga orang Melayu kita especially as nanti, bila pergi makan kadang-kadang dapat udang, pergi Japanese restaurant, 6 udang tempura pun orang sanggup bayar RM30.
Yeah, because it's
and
Japanese.
the udang is just celuk tepung je. Kan? You get me not?
It's for the quality. It's the quality that you
exactly.
go for and the taste.
Tapi bila time kita bagi 12 udang, 10 udang dengan masak gulai, dengan guna lengkuas, serai, dengan santan pekat, dengan nenas, dengan daun selasih, everything product yang bila you makan kuah tu macam like wow kan, and RM38 orang dah complain. This is silap orang. That's why kadang-kadang restoran Melayu susah nak maju ke depan. Kenapa? Bangsa sendiri yang tak berhenti hormat makanan kita. Kerana selalu mengagung-agungkan makanan Jepun, makanan orang lain, makan Italian, pasta alio olio, aku nak menyebut alio aku ni kan, dengan hudang 2-3 ketul dalam macam tu, dengan apa pun tak ada, minyak olive oil kan, can sell for RM50 pun orang like bangga ni. You get me not? Just like the chef out there, ramai yang tak ada sense of makanan warisan kita. Dia orang balik-balik nak kerja buat burger, nak slam fish and chips, senang letak macam ni, kerja senang, and they say go, and they call themselves a chef.
Oh no.
You get me or not? You know, Salah masuk dari and they call themselves a chef. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Kan?
On that note, though, how are you seeing the talents nowadays, especially when they want to go into culinary? Have you been seeing a lot?
You nak air pingsan ke?
Are you seeing? Are you seeing a drop in quality?
Budak kat langit kan timpul muka sendiri kan?
No, because I want
They're
to
gonna
understand.
hate me. They're gonna hate me what I'm gonna say you.
No, because I want to understand the ideas, the modern ideas. Do they fall in tandem with what you have seen over the years?
I'm telling you, these days, you know, young chefs yang ramai masuk tak ada kuat semangat. They don't have what we have in the old school time lah. You can ask any chef out there, they will tell you the same story. Dia orang ni keluar masuk industri macam cendawan tumbuh. Orang bagi RM50 pun sebenarnya kan they will leave and to go somewhere else to work to do something yang ni. Segalanya yang kita bagi ni susah. They don't take pride in what they do. Because why? For them, you know, they just want something simple aja. And then they are not disciplined. Banyak drama minggu ini yang macam-macam lah. I'm telling you, it's not easy.
Banyak drama,
Tak
even with
tahan
Chef
lasak.
Wan.
Yes, tak tahan lasak. Kan? Sikit nak nangis, kejap mak bapak semua datang. In our days, kita kena carut atas bawah. Kena carut atas bawah. Tak? So that our heart is like a steel.
I see.
And our attitude is like, what doesn't kill you will always make you stronger.
Yeah.
Tapi nowadays budak-budak spoil. Yang masuk banyak-banyak from what I heard from many university and colleges and all that, yang tak ada disiplin, yang tak buat kerja. Lepas tu all this lambakan of all these new generation chef yang masuk, yang kebanyakannya juga yang I got the feedback lah from many university and colleges. Budak-budak also kadang-kadang chef kata, aduh kita memang nak failkan diorang. Because you know why? They come with attitude, they come dengan otak tak cerdik. Because these days you dengar a lot, kalau anak tu tak pas, anak tu tak cerdik, tak ni, guess where? Nak suruh anak tu pergi jadi chef lah. Kita masuklah melambat-lambat sekolah
that's like
chef
the
yang ada yang masak ni.
resort.
Because
I
you need
see.
less otak kononnya lah. Kononnya nak jadi chef tak payah pakai otak. Boleh masak lempar-lempar je jadi. Bila lempar-lempar je ajar masak, dapat resepi je boleh buat.
Right.
Hopefully anak tu esok boleh lah jadi apa? Tukang masak dan bukan tukang sapu dan cuci jamban. Sebab apa? Pelajaran ni tak boleh, lepas tu malas, lepas tu sikap pula. So the industry is flooded with all this orang-orang yang with this kind of attitude. You imagine lah. Betapa susah kita nak berniaga, nak mendapatkan betul-betul chef yang betul-betul benar, yang nak really put their heart and soul for, orang kata, the career.
But that being
as a
said,
chef,
right,
as a chef.
That being said, Dato', you do see, because we do see a rising pool of individuals, young ones, they're entrepreneur, tapi they ada that mindset of entrepreneurship. They open their own business, either a cafe or whatever, but they might not have culinary experience. But eventually they go into that. Is that a good pathway though?
No, for me, anyone can be a good cook. They might not be a trained professional chef, they can still at least be a good cook. There's nothing wrong about that. So if you can make 10 good recipe and not have another 100,000 recipe in your head yang bagus, and you feel that 10 can really build your own brand, menjaga, and buat apa je, soto, mi rebus, this and all that, terbaik. Because saya buat mi kari ni, saya dah test. Saya buat apa R&D, Chef Wan. Saya dah buat R&D, saya ambil resipi Chef Wan, ambil resipi Khalid, chef di nenek saya tok moyang, and saya dah makan semua, saya kata, oh memang resipi ni the best. Saya akan ambil resipi ni menjaga. Kalau saya tak happy dengan resipi ni, saya kuih talam ni tak senonoh, pakai banyak colour, saya pergi pasar malam macam apa makanan dia orang saji, saya sakit hati tengok benda macam ni, dan maka saya nak compete dengan other ni, maka saya akan put my heart and soul to sit down and Google hari ni, boleh tengok YouTube, boleh tengok macam-macam orang ajar masak kat TV tu betul, and ambil resipi buku masak yang beribu-ribu yang ada kat pasaran tu. Kenapa kita tak boleh improve kita punya skill untuk masak dengan berusaha? This is the problem. A lot of them menyaga bawang tu too complacent. I boleh jual 50 macam ni, senang hati orang beli. Orang beli sama ada orang lempar tong sampah ke tidak pun kita tak peduli. Janji wang masuk. So that kind of quality, that kind of behaviour, is that what we want for the country? We don't want. Kan we tak nak. So that's why everybody kena ada sikap tanggungjawab. Nak menjaga, kita kena jujur. Yes, the people out there yang bayar duit ni must have nothing but the best.
Okay, but now
I always tell my staff, they must have nothing but
Well,
while pursuing nothing but the best, you guys out, you have to put your heart and soul to produce. Kalau tak sedap, tak baik, why serve to the people?
Yeah.
But Chef, I think going back to your, how you were complaining, let's put it that way, about the quality of graduates, right? How do we change this mindset?
Well, the thing is like that lah, these days you tengok also more and more, I was told the size of hiring nak masuk kalangan chef industry jadi mengecil sampai 20-30%. minat dia dah kurang dalam bidang masak. Because orang tak minat, because orang tahu kerja susah. Kan? You have to put a lot of effort. Kan?
It's more than just cooking.
Gaji pun tak boleh tinggi sangat kan, because kita after that nak letak juga cost balik kepada orang yang nak bayar. Mampu kau nak bayar, tak mampu kan? So that's why gaji pun tak boleh naik tinggi kan, because the value tak ada tu. So that's why it becomes, you know, in such a way that the career is less and less people have more interest untuk the kitchen. Tapi kalau yang masuk tu pula kebanyakannya I tak boleh jadi doktor, tak jadi lawyer, I fail exam ke apa ke whatever, and then mak bapak kata masuk je lah chef, sekolah chef.
Right.
Paling tidak kau tukang masak. You get me not?
Yeah.
So that's why the mindset has to be from kita. Kalau kita tak minat dalam bidang ni, tak payah masuk lah. Kenapa kita perlu masuk untuk menyusahkan the industry? Kenapa kita masuk untuk menyusahkan kawan-kawan chef yang kita kerja ni semua, ya, untuk menjatuhkan semangat mereka. Sedangkan mereka adalah orang yang motivasi tinggi, kuat semangat, jati tinggi yang tinggi apa semua, mau berusaha, you know. And suddenly bila kita dapat assistant kita semua bawah ni semua yang macam lemah, kuat ponteng, tak datang kerja, hari ni patut nak siap buffet untuk 500 orang, suddenly 3 orang MC. Okay? So siapa yang nak kerja macam lembu? The other workers.
Right.
So that's why attitude.
But
dalam bidang ni you need good attitude.
Okay, chef, but I think it's a bigger issue when it comes to the young talent pool that we have today coming into the industry, thinking that everything will be served to them. I'm sure each and every other industries have their own flaws and I know difficulties. I think it's best we engage with the young, especially during education level, immediately, right?
Yes.
Because not that when they go into the industry, then they realize, oh no,
And
is
let's
this
not
difficult?
forget, some of these kids also, when you heard, they come from very small family.
Okay.
Because mak bapak,
Access
mak
lah.
bapak siang
Okay,
malam nak ni dapat, nak tu dapat, nak ni dapat, nak pergi. You get me not? Because kadang mak bapak pun sibuk kerja, tak ada masa kan, anak nak duit bagi senang. So when they have to earn that money and go out to the real world from their culinary school yang dah belajar daripada college ke university, and then going down to the real road and work, and then they work for 1 or 2 years, they left.
Yeah.
I tak nak
That's
jadi
not
chef,
stability lah,
tak
yeah
nak,
lah.
you know, and they went to study for 3 years. Belajar habis macam tu je.
But
And cikgu-cikgu sekolah pun lala macam mana ni, saya nak fail kan ni pun tak boleh because kita ada kota. Universiti ada kota, ada apa something, you know. Kalau kita nak fail lah, kau tak boleh, kau buat apa kan. Tapi kalau tak ada, nanti esok dia nak buat apa? Kan? Macam terpaksa nak paskan dia orang tau.
Tell me about it. I was a lecturer.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kan? You are
It's
lecturer.
very
Macam juga cikgu
challenging,
sekolah kan. Kalau
No,
kita ni macam tersepit tau kan.
Yeah.
So that's why tak banyak orang yang semangat yang tinggi, yang jiwa tinggi kan.
Yeah.
That's why. So for me, in all my years has been that. That's why I always kadang menang anugerah ni for, you know, best chef ni macam ni untuk ni, and then kadang-kadang what do you call that, you know, masa dulu lah pun kerja kan, selalu jadi employee of the month lah, whether I work sana ke work sini ke, always, you know, my majikan semua kata, you know, I love your spirit because you're hardworking, you're diligent, you know, you're very, you know, you have a lot of quality in you, empowering you kan, dia kata, and then you come early, you make sure that, you know, your mise en place is ready, and then with service time boom jalan, and then like I see very little kesilapan you, and everything looks perfect on the plate and all that. And I love the part when you come to me, when you have this idea that you want to do this buffet untuk hotel, untuk apa, you want to put a bit Asian and all that, and then you create this and you bagi kita makan to taste, and it's like, wow, we should have this on the menu, Chef Wan. This from where? From Malaysia, from Indonesia, or this from Thailand, yeah. Where do you learn how to cook Thai? Where do you learn how to kan?
It's
And
shared
yeah, of course kan. So that's why, you know, people kadang heran macam mana kita boleh berjaya. Kita boleh berjaya bukan saja orang kata, you know, you can be successful not because, you know, of our positive mind and spirit and hard working. Even at 67 now I'm working around the clock. You know, I'm running everywhere.
It's
I'm
your
like an autobusi.
enthusiasm.
Macam kan, tangan everywhere doing different thing masuk, you know, and then And 24 hours is never enough for me, you know. Bagi 48 jam pun tak cukup kan.
Right.
And then at home pun I'm also the same thing as well, you know, with my garden, with my cats and thing, and you know, in my bedroom ke apa, doing stuff, you know, that, you know, and yeah, I think life is beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm living that beautiful life. But then life is also a challenge.
That's right.
Everyone goes through challenges. Life is also one you sacrifice. So I'm sacrificing my life now to present the best way I can in terms of my recipe, my skill, my years of experience of cooking, and then of course my brand. We never even advertise iklan. You tengok mana paper yang ada iklan restaurant I, tak ada iklan. We don't even spend money on advertising because the advertising comes from the food, from word of mouth.
Right.
If it's bad, it's bad, kan? So that's why I tell the children, value the brand just like any other brand, because this is the brand that is going to take you so far ahead. One day you're going to even run your own business and you're going to carry the same mandate, the same spirit, semangat and everything, and jiwa and prinsip yang abang pegang ini and bagi. I'm going to be gone. That's why kan, I'm not young anymore, kan? So that's why I say bila kita bagi ni, dengarlah terbaik. And you yourself can see the success of the restaurant when we are busy, when we are crowded, and you see the crowd, when you see the quality of food and people leaving the place so happy, and that's success. Right. And the success did not come from me, it's just my recipe, which I tell you how to cook, which I show you how to do properly.
But it's also like a collective thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because we already come to the end of the episode, unfortunately.
What? Is that all?
But
I told them they should give me 3 hours,
But
Parliament baru nak bersidang. I'm just catching my breath.
Just one thing to add.
Yes.
I mean, personally, for me, your work ethic is truly inspirational, admirable. Really, it's something that I want to personally work towards.
Even when I was in television for 34 years, if we have to develop one recipe cake and all that, we have like 3-4 times to do testing. Pukul 3 pagi, 4 pagi baru then I go to sleep, and then 2 hours, 3 hours later, I'm at the station, all make up everything to stand there in front of camera and to do 3 episodes until 2 a.m. in the morning or 1 a.m. Packing everything balik. Sometimes tidur macam ayam, you takut tingkat terbuka, takut tertutup, besok pagi nak pergi sambung shooting. And then when we do the food testing of all the cakes, if I have a piece of paper on a scale of 1 to 10, the cake is a 7 or 6. Anything 6, we redo balik. If it's a 7, let's improve the cake. If it's pina colada, it's not enough coconut. Pina is pineapple. Let's put a bit more pineapple into the cheesecake. Let's have the base a bit more crunchy, macadamia nut journey, because I'm talking about Hawaii. While I'm doing the cake, I'm going to talk about my experience in Hawaii, about macadamia, about this, and then the pineapple, ananas, about dole canning, because that's my idea. Okay, I'm going to create what we call a pina colada. A colada, coconut, kan? A pineapple, and it suits Malaysia because kita banyak pokok kelapa and all that. Let's work on this pineapple. And then when the sponsors of Craft Cheesecake came and said, oh my God, this is fabulous. What is this cake? You guess? Kita buat mango, kita kan, and because I felt like it's a 7 or 8 because kita dah makan cheesecake satu dunia dah. That's why masa dulu I did a series called The Joy of Cheesecake, and it sells the Philadelphia cream cheese in the market like crazy, habis.
Sampai sekarang,
people buat cheesecake. Even before cheesecake existed dulu kat Malaysia ni semua kan, I started sama-sama dulu untuk and Craft Australia used to send me all the way to Melbourne to look at how the cheese are being made and all that semua kan. But it's attention to detail. It's attention to detail, the perfection of the patisserie. So I have to go to Paris. I have to go to Le Cordon Bleu school in Paris. Walaupun I have pastry courses at my San Francisco Culinary Academy before, belajar pastry for 6 bulan on top of that 3 years professional associate degree. But I make effort to go to all these schools to learn the French way of perfecting at a higher level standard of making patisserie.
But on that note, do you think Malay cuisine is still underrated? Before we wrap up.
Yes. Always.
Meaning we have to still push it out there.
Yeah, always, because you know why? Kesilapan diri kita sendiri.
Because
for many years, we've never perfected our recipe. We always expect makanan kita makanan kampung, makanan kita makan rumah, biar minyak, biar bersepah macam mana pun kat Chapin dish pun, kita tak scoop minyak tu, tak very responsible, tak improve the quality, like I say lah. We don't have this sense like, this, kita selalu complacent dengan, ni mak aku buat macam ni lah rasa dia. Tapi tak rasa mak orang lain yang buat lagi sedap, nenek orang lain yang buat lagi sedap, tak rasa, atau restoran lain buat lagi sedap, tak ada. But these days, orang dah tahu, sejak even when I started Malay restaurant, nowadays tengok banyak Malay restaurant buka. Dulu tak banyak kan. The minute saya buka, orang tengok successful aja, macam tubuh cendawan. Even the slice of the pie is getting smaller. Because why we are sharing? But it's good. Because for me, rezeki is for everybody. You get me not? So it's kalau satu negara, tukang masak restoran Melayu ambil sikap begini, yang kita ni have to challenge itself. Kita ni have to compete against each other to get the best of the Malay restaurant, and therefore nama makanan Melayu tu akan naik lagi level dia, akan tinggi lagi, akan more respected by people. Kan, kalau orang di luar negara, as a food ambassador of Malaysia for Tourism Malaysia and Maltrade for many years, I used to cook a lot of wonderful. I used to go to Davos for the World Economic Forum to cook for all the prime minister and the head of states around the world. I used to cook for Tun Mahathir, for Jokowi, and for Tun pun even now, birthday dia every now and then, every few years, Wan masak, my restaurant masak kan untuk, and so that's why you notice, when you put something really your heart and soul and works, and you can see the result. So don't think that makanan Melayu kita tak boleh in that level. When I went abroad for all the world festival, when I presentkan, people always give me that credit. Oh my God, Chef Wan, your Malaysian food is so delicious. It's so ni.
And when are you doing
and orang selalu menidakkan, makan kita pedas, buah belacan, busuk macam ni. For me, like, hello, cheese tu tak busuk ke? The gorgonzola tu tak smelly ke? The brie tu tak bau ke? Kan, Rockford cheese doesn't smell ke? What about the fish yang orang makan herring tak busuk ke? Kan, kita constantly make up lah, Kan? So that's why I want people to understand, to have a sense of pride, for our makanan, for our heritage food.
Right.
Kerana negara, people lupa tau, hilang makanan ni, rosak, hilang ni, hilang bangsa, hilang negara, semua hilang. Kan? This is our culture. So we have to take pride.
It's nice to know, it's nice to be reiterating that we have to be proud of our heritage and we have to be proud of our tradition.
That is so true.
But to be proud alone is not enough. You have to work. You have to work.
Okay.
You have to put your heart and soul. Jangan cakap aja mulut elio dalam besok bila tengok benda ni berminyak tak kisah. Bila tengok benda ni nak save harga cincai ke tak, santan cair sikit lebih kurang macam ni kan. So that's why kita tak ada again fall back to the attitude.
Right.
As you want to be a successful chef, you have to improve your attitude.
Okay. All right. If you want to be a successful chef, or if you want to be a good cook, as Chef Wan cakap, anybody can be a good entrepreneur.
If you want to make the millions, darling, you gotta work hard. You gotta work hard. Nothing comes easy. Tapi Chef Wan bila serit over the years, bukan 8 juta dalam beg I. I serit apa dalam beg I? Pinggan mangkuk, I bawa periuk, ketang-ketung, kadang tinggal kuali. I kata, Chef Wan, you tinggal kuali tu. Lupa bawa balik. Sebab daripada all the food festival, sekarang letak kat atas. Sebab sayang takut kuali kena import, takut kemit. Kuali tu bukan cantik lawa mana pun. It's kuali hitam tu kan. Tapi it's been with me for so many years. Sanggup hand carry ni, pergi all around the world and tuntang. You get me not kan? So I say it tu je lah.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Datuk Chef Wan.
Is that all?
Yes.
I thought it's just warm up. Just as we were talking, and you see how I'm going. Like
we wish we could have 10 hours with
10
you.
hours with you, definitely. But Chef, maybe next time we can have a cooking
Yes, please.
fight.
I would love to be your sous chef. Next to you.
Kena drill.
Tak apa, it's okay. Maybe kita tengok.
Of course.
Right. Thank you again, Chef Wan, for being on Beyond the Headlines. Happy Selamat Hari Raya to you and to our audience back at home. If you like this particular episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to also turn on the notification bell. If you haven't already, you'll not only get Beyond the Headlines updates, other NSC online news reports will be delivered to you. Once again, I'd like to thank our guest, Datuk Chef Wan himself, Hazrin Hassan.
Thank you.
My name is Amalina Kamal. I'll see you next week.
And we wish everyone
okay.
Selamat Hari Raya.
Betul. Okay.
Yeah?
1, 2, 3. Okay.
And semoga semuanya berjalan dengan selamat and all that. And jangan kecil hati kalau saya tegur apa yang saya cakap, because it comes from my heart.
Right.
And I only mean well from my years of experience. And jangan lupa ikut Chef Wan dalam Instagram dan TikTok.
There you have it, everyone. Follow Chef Wan.
Follow Chef Wan.
Okay.
Selamat Hari Raya.